All right, I'm here. Matt C is here. We're gonna chat. I'm coming out just firing heaters because I'm fired up about. You're gonna catch me up mainly on the group chat because it's text based. We were just talking about that, and I can't keep up. Uh, but everyone loves text based and is annoyed with me for not doing more text or for audios, or they're not, and that's my own insecure projecting bullshit. Um, but I was just telling you about PDK's last live stream and how great it is. But it's what I don't know. There's a lot of ways we could go with that because all the topics they're in, I've been leaving lots of comments. So if you care, go check them out. No homework. But it's really, really good towards the end, especially like Sartori. God, Sartori, I love you because he's been talking to Daniel, OG Rose, reading books and different things, and he dropped this comment in there where I'm just like, dude, you have received the seeds that I've been sowing for years about Peter Rollins because you just made a Peter Rollins comment, whether or not you acknowledge it. There it is. You got it, buddy. We have made it. Because he's fire in that comment, I think. And then Mark D. Parker comes in at the end and drops this John Henry Newman quote, which is absolute fire. It's good. And then Jason had this ending comment that I think he's a CRC pastor, where he said, "Oh man, what was it? I gotta look it up because it was very good." He said essentially, "Is AI the best community member because it pays attention to us selflessly, because it does not have a self?" And I'm like, "That's a banger of a comment or of a question, you know." So there's a lot there. That's all basic. We don't have to interact with any of that. That's just basically a pitch for people to go actually watch that live stream that only has 700 views right now. I don't know what the hell's happening, but
Yeah.
that's weird for PBK. I mean, I know people don't, and this is also, listen, I'm just going to shame people. I don't give a shit. If you are not paying attention to where PBK has gone with his channel, which is leaning into more TLC stuff because you just want information and content, you're trying to live in a dead world. That's what I would say.
I mean, well, here's a way to make it a little crunchier. Speaking of a dead world, I think PVK's guests are they just happen to be a little older
On that one?
and because of that, they are wrestling with things that I'm not wrestling with so much. And
Yeah,
people are our age. And so
yeah,
I
yeah,
tune in
yeah.
a little less because of that. Because what I hear is a little more horizontal space. Like they're worried about what they're seeing on TV. Is what I'm hearing. That was less the case with last Friday though. But my instinct was we're going to talk about how one brother watches Fox News and one watches MSNBC, and that didn't happen, but it has happened before.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and
Which,
that's not a problem on there. That just means that they're navigating different stuff.
yeah, that's actually really interesting. So I mean, we can get into the stuff that we wanted to talk about, or we could just riff, but I have an interesting question for that. Because do you think somewhat like even what you just said, and then also I've seen like last week on X, Elon Musk like made some comments about like if you're planning for the future and your 401k and your retirement, he's like all that's going to be irrelevant. It doesn't matter because AI, is just going to take over everything. And that's very related to Grimm and Mathieu talking about God AI, like just with mind control, paving the way for God AI. So there's those kinds of comments, which I think hit Gen X, millennials, boomers for sure, some millennials. They hit much differently than people that have grown up in this cultural medium, maybe. And what do you think about that? Like, what is the disconnect? Does that mind control matter, or in your opinion, is it somewhat like it's irrelevant because all the people that are scared about it aren't going to be around that long?
That's really good. I've been trying to put my finger on it. It's funny. I really appreciate that our little group chat space has people from, I think the age gap between the oldest and youngest is close to 20 years.
Yeah, probably.
Young
My the
Henry.
oldest.
Yeah. And that's really helpful because people are letting their hair down and being themselves with people that are not in their same generation, like at all.
Yeah.
And that's really cool. And you get their even like Seabax was talking about. Here's a topic that happened. He was talking about the meme culture that he is exploring within his own family, with a group chat that he has with his daughter and wife, and how they're learning something about themselves and about their own daughter that they didn't. That there's a dimensionality to her personality and her outlook and perspective that they don't get just driving her around in the car or something.
Yeah.
Learning how she does memes, which that's fascinating. So to tie it down a bit to what you just asked, although you can do anything you want with this, of course, because I know you've got meme culture in your family.
Yeah.
I think the younger generations are less worried about it because they've always known, because they developed a natural immunity to the internet called prophilicity, where they have a buffered self. And I think older generations are really upset that the internet is lying to them, and they think it's the first time.
That's something that blows my mind.
Yeah, my whole profile is a lie.
Yeah.
The native space in which I navigate is a lie in order to tell the truth. So I'm not necessarily upset that half my feed is AI videos, because it was always AI in a way. It was always artificial. And you know, like there wasn't anything authentic happening anywhere in the silver screen. So, and I think the older people are still mad. And I'm saying this in a way maybe to be evocative, but I think they're still upset that it was always this way and now it's super obvious, and they're mad that it's so obvious now. And they always kind of knew it was fake, but now I am actually kind of grateful that AI made it irreversibly,
undeniably fake.
Yeah. So what do you think about that?
Some people will pretend is real or something. It's that's actually really related to stuff I think Michael was saying in that PVK live stream, because it's and what I thought of as you were saying that is, that's true. The way I will play with that is I watched the new Running Man, like the new Running Man movie, which is I think conceptually it's kind of interesting. It was too, I don't know, like it was too crass for me, really, which is maybe you could maybe say why why that was too crass for me, and like True Detective isn't. We could talk about that, but I didn't. But a lot of the ideas in it are kind of fascinating because, and I can't remember the original, but they're essentially playing on that, where like they're manipulating him and his life and replaying stuff, essentially like with AI, where it's just like it doesn't matter what he says, because they will just fake the video that he submits that they play out there and put out a different video to twist it and manipulate it and do whatever. And so he's just like, well, it doesn't matter. But that's kind of to your point of the generational gap of, oh, we're scared of AI and this, how are we going to know what's real? And that's kind of been my reply to it, is just like, and to Grimm's point, I think a lot is like, we've all been under mind control forever. Like you think this other stuff is real, or you understand it, which is like, you have an idol that really is a false sense of security, that where you feel comfortable. But what actually is happening right now with AI and technology is we are being given the gift of breaking the spell and our mass delusion that any of us have been under within this modernist framework, that we see reality for what it is. And we're being given that gift if you are willing to accept it. Like I was saying that to Wombai, like no one, that's my notes from the Tilt-A-Whirl thing. Like this cup You think you know what this cup is? You don't have a clue what this cup is. But yet at the same time you do, because you're interacting with it and you have it, like, you know, on one level. But like rationally, propositionally, you think you can explain to me what this cup is? You can't. You will just throw out words that are models.
Yeah,
That's
it
all
just
you
has
have.
a persistence of attributes that you take for granted, right? That you,
Yeah. Like
Mhm.
whatever they call it, like within Catholic or philosophical doc, it's like secondary attributes or whatever. But like the essence of this cup, you have no idea. But you don't know that about anything. But that's that Lilith quote that I love, is like, the fact is no man understands anything. It's Socrates. It's like all this stuff that we talk about, but then we have insecurity with AI. And it's just like, it's fine. It's all the same.
Yeah. Yep. And in some ways, that's why the younger generations are older in internet years than the older generations are. If that makes sense. Like the Zoomers can help millennials can help Gen X, I think, kind of navigate this stuff if we all open our ears a bit more. I think, and maybe not prophilicity, maybe not buffered self is the ultimate solution, but there is a we can kind of build an immune response that's healthy, I think, so that we're not violated by this stuff as much, so that we're doing the saving throws, that thing.
You younger buffered people can give me some of your festering pus that I can rub in my wounds.
Yeah. There's you mentioned True Detective. I know the fellas are going to be very interested in whatever thoughts you want to share with that. And you did share some. Skank in the group chat brought up this idea that just like Nolan's Interstellar, which was not critically reviewed very well when it first came out.
Wow.
And then over time, it actually kind of proved the thesis of the story, of the plot line a little bit, about how something's meaning can actually change over time because the perspective, it's like quantum theory, right? Like we're in a different space now where we can watch a movie about a dead world.
Yeah.
And impossible choices that have to be made, and people lying to us to get us to do the right thing, noble lie kind of scenario stuff, that in 2014 or 13 in Obama world, end of history, like that just that didn't compute. Like a story where Matthew McConaughey's like going to his daughter's high school and saying, no, we went to the moon. And they're saying, no, I'm sorry, we took that out of the textbooks. We lied. We never went to the moon. That felt like
I forgot
really
that
discordant, tone-deaf storytelling.
Yeah.
In 2026, that's very resonant. That's very resonant.
Yeah.
And the same thing, I think, goes for True Detective Season 1, which was kind of country folk, rural fear porn about Christians in the wilderness, that Hollywood likes to, especially back then, likes to generate money off of that fear. It felt a little, like The Hills Have Eyes. You remember, it's like that kind of thing. But in 2026, when you're telling me you've got like two actors everybody generally appreciates doing the best content of their lives about a conspiracy for, like, child abduction and
it's Louisiana Epstein.
Louisiana Epstein. Like tell me that doesn't have resonance,
Yeah.
So and people liked it when it came out, and I think even now, I think people like it on an even better level. I don't think I would have liked it in 2014. I don't think I would have been like, this is like easy punching down kind of stuff. Does not feel that way now. So
when did it come out? Is that when it came out?
it was over a decade ago.
Jeez.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So you've watched it more than once, right? Like,
Yeah, I've seen it like 2 or 3 times. I can't remember. Yeah, and then the last time was with my son, which yeah, you thought was just wild that I would that I would watch that with my son.
yeah. Well,
Yeah,
it's like
I was.
having meme culture with your son, like you sending him a article and then him doing like a Breaking Bad meme in response. Like, I've never thought about a world where you would have your son sending you gifts about really important stuff. But here we are. That's actually not a criticism. It's just I'm floored. It's
Yeah,
kind of
what's
interesting.
kind of funny is I don't think like he pretty gently and lovingly will say sometimes, which is true. Like I don't take resentment at it, is that when it comes to memes and different stuff, like I'll share stuff with him and sometimes he'll do like oh, like that's cute. That was funny 5 years ago, or something.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know how much, like part of me believes him, part of me is just like, is that just like a youthful thing that kids say, which is maybe part of it, but also part of it's probably true. And so what's kind of funny is in a lot of ways, he would probably understand the group chat more than I do. Cause like I say that to
Yeah.
people is like, I can't keep up with the text, but even when I try to, I'm like, I feel like I'm understanding about 50% of this.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Yeah.
but to your point about the True Detective stuff, I don't, man, I don't know. I feel like when I first saw Interstellar or True Detective, I loved them both instantly.
Yeah.
Um, and part of that, I don't know. This will probably come across as a bit elitist or whatever for me to say, but really, it's kind of like a thing behind the thing. I think somewhat like even the thing you're talking about, where like you'd watch True Detective or someone would watch Interstellar, and they somewhat to me, people that would judge it are doing so based on superficial identity markers that like are not seeing like the really big picture of like what it's talking about. And so then they're like, oh, this is dumb for whatever reason. And I'm just like, what are you talking about? Like, it's awesome. It's so cool. And like maybe that little thing that you're saying is like if somebody were to watch True Detective and they're just being like, this is like making fun of rural, uneducated hillbillies, and it's like a class commentary. I'm like, not really.
You don't think there, I mean, I'm trying to be personalist about television in a way, maybe. But
Yeah.
I think storytelling is embedded in its original contents. It does have a primary audience, and that's something that helps, in a real sense, does define the work. Now that also the audience does change over time as
Mm-hmm.
we progress into the future. So it has a different audience now, and that has impact as well. But I can't ignore what uh, what was easy pickings and was easy
Right.
pitch material in 2012 for Hollywood to make money off of.
Right. So
They
you're
thought,
saying when Pizzalato wrote that, it was Obama era, or maybe when he wrote it, it was pre-Obama era. And so like that's the intent that necessarily has to be the intended audience.
it picked up a toy off out of the toy box called deplorables and said, what can we do with deplorables? Yeah, no, like I don't know how we get outside of that. I don't.
Well, you can't really, I suppose. Well, so like there's probably multiple levels going on there. So like yes, I mean that gets that what's interesting to me is that points at almost modernist assumptions behind audience, authorial intent, and but then art, because real art transcends that. Real art is going to have like a classic is going to have multiple audiences, and it's going to resonate with those audiences for different reasons. So it is both within that context and limited time and outside of it.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's a thing behind the thing, but that doesn't erase the first thing
No,
in
no,
that.
yeah,
So
good.
I'm just talking about the thing, and I'm also saying that there is a thing behind the thing.
So it was written over a span of time, with the first episode written in 2010,
Oh wow,
and then the second in 2011, and the remaining 6 written in a 3-month burst in 2012. So that was
amazing.
the big drop came in 2012.
Yeah,
Dude, that guy. So I know you liked True Detective is my favorite TV
I liked it a
series
lot.
of all time. Season 1. My son, I was asking him last night. I was saying we were gonna have this conversation, and I said he's gonna want to know about our dynamic, and he's like, "You can tell him it's my favorite TV show." Um,
Wow. Okay.
and then, and I don't know how much of that is just like I like my dad. My dad's my hero, kind of a thing. I
Do you even
mean,
know who he is yet? Yeah.
maybe. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to judge him too much. I mean, he's his own person, but
Mhm.
um and then so I haven't sent this to you yet. I don't know how deep you've gone on the True Detective. You probably have gone deeper than I have in some ways, but the True Detective rabbit hole is there's a Nic Pizzalato interview out there that I've seen a few times since watching True Detective
Hmm.
that is so great. Like he's a really interesting guy. Like
Hmm.
he's the kind of person I would love to hang out with and interact with. I think you'd
Mhm.
actually really like him. He kind of reminds me of you in a way because he has this very and because you're a narcissist. No, I'm just kidding. I just say that as a joke because I was like, you're like him, he's like you. He
I've gotten that impression from it. I only saw a little bit of like the HBO Max has this like stay after the episode for some extra bonus content, and they interview the screenwriter,
yeah.
and yeah, you do get this impression. You're like, okay, all right, you're very you're still in pat your own back mode about and as you should because you changed you you added to the canon of golden age era television. So
Yeah, I'll have to find it and send it to you later,
mhm.
but it's good. But the reason he reminds me of you is he's well, and kind of myself. This is maybe kind of why I like it because he seemed to have really um what's the word, inauspicious, humble beginnings, but
Oh really?
he's clearly very bright. And then I can't remember all of his history of like where he went to school, where he studied, whatever, but he's like it is a little bit of the difference almost between I feel like this came up recently in some PVK talk where it was because so I watched Hamnet and I was obsessed with it. I love that movie and
Yeah.
it's made me interested to like dive into Shakespeare because I never really have. And part of why apparently it was somebody PK was talking to, I think, but they were talking about it a little bit. Part of like the British mystery debate about Shakespeare is that he came from pretty humble beginnings. Like he wasn't aristocracy. Like he was just a dude. And then he wrote all this stuff and the British are just kind of like not possible. Because they're a little bit more posh and they have that class stuff. Whereas like in America, that narrative is almost completely flipped where it's just like rich people aren't going to make anything original and cool. Like the only people who are making stuff cool are like grassroots, coming from suffering, struggling kind of people. And that's something that resonates with me because I'm like, it's even like TLC autodidact stuff. I've talked about that in live streams. Like, I don't, if you, even now, really, like usually when I'm around people who have PhDs and are very educated and in academic circles and I listen to them talk, like very rarely am I like, you're saying anything interesting, you know?
Yeah. So maybe to lift True Detective season 1 out of the morass that I lowered it into by saying that it's rural fear porn. Maybe we say I think it's very likely that the show um, needed a little bit of meat on the hook as bait for Hollywood
Mm.
to explore something that the we keep referring to him. I don't know his name. Do you know his name? The writer.
Nic Pizzalato.
Yeah, like so like Nic Pizzalato really wanted to go to a thing behind the thing that was actually resonant in a way that was timeless. And he got, and the means by which he would get there was something that was that people could throw money at the time, which is the left behind people,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the forgotten.
Is that why it resonates? Because it's like occultic, weird,
Mm,
conspiracy. It's like Left Behind. It's like if you grew up in
mm,
like American rural, Pentecostally,
mhm.
spiritualized, satanic panic spirituality, you're just like, this is, and you can stand the scariness, vulgarity. You're just like, this is the shit. Because that's
Well,
me, you know.
you're right. I just said left behind because I'm thinking about politically left behind, but you're right.
Oh,
There's the Pentecost. Yeah,
double entendre, baby.
yeah, yeah.
Because I bet that demographic, if you're not so conservative that, because like my parents would never be able to watch a show like that, but
Mhm.
but like for someone like me who's maybe more open and not as offended by f bombs and violence and scary occultic type stuff, I'm just
Mhm.
like, hell yeah, this is like a
Hmm.
this reminds me of all the things I was scared of as a kid.
Really,
Oh yeah.
all the
I was
things.
terrified of Left Behind stuff. Like I had when I was a little kid in my original hometown church,
Yeah.
they had like a traveling pastor came in and I remember them setting up a TV VCR, rolling it out like in the middle of the sanctuary, and they played us like an end times thing with like a guillotine and people like being murdered for not taking the mark of the beast and stuff. And and I'm like 8,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
That ties in something folks were talking about in the group chat yesterday.
Mm.
Try to still play with this theme
Yeah,
of
do it.
bringing you things, bringing you the fruits of this weird group chat. Uh, Noah, President Foxman brought up that, and McMo brought up these notions of like, which TLC kind of plays with. A lot of folks play with this a lot. This idea that there's beliefs that I'm ready for, but you're not ready for.
Mm-hmm.
So if you need to get to my level through fear or something, or if you need a noble lie like hell, or free will, or if you need something that is going to motivate you, like Interstellar, like if you need me to tell you something to get you to the finish line that isn't quite true, that is going to get you into truth, that I'm going to allow you to persist in that, a little bit. But you're not ready for where I'm at. Me being the person that believes that there, I don't know, that there is no hell, or
Yeah.
that there is no free will, or there is something that, like, I freed myself of that the fear motivator or something, or I don't need the drive that you need. I don't
Yes.
know. Do you know what I mean?
No, I do. Hey,
I think that's interesting because everybody will compete. Like, there's that, but then there's everybody's doing that about, and then coming to different conclusions as well. So like, it's this fun little like paradigm farce, like stage play, where everyone's saying you wouldn't get it. No, you wouldn't get it. And but we're all here together in a way. We're all having conversation and dialogue, but everyone's always kind of posturing. It's like, am I are you on my level, or do you need what I believed 3 years ago to get through where I've kind of elevated beyond that? I don't know if that's interesting at all.
no, that's so interesting. Can you I have a daughter out here who's just getting ready for school. Can I pause and you remember this place and I will
Yes,
come right back in like a couple
100%.
minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sorry. Okay, we're back. So what we were talking about, because I want your thoughts on this. So you were just talking about like the white lie of maybe being beyond someone else, and if it, so like that reminds me of the line which I've always loved from the Oracle in Grim Grizz's mind control he's watched thousands of times, The Matrix, where she says like, or Morpheus says this because the Oracle has told him this, is like, and he says this to Neon, like, are you, or Neo, when you're starting to believe, when he's starting to believe, he like grabs the rope on the helicopter, it's going down, and he saves her, and they come back. He's like, he's starting to believe, and then he says, Neo, there's a difference between knowing the path and walking the path, which is that. So it's like the noble lie. There's a difference between thinking you know something and doing and actually doing it. It's actually Jordan Peterson's act as if. What is belief? It's the same shit, actually. And then it makes me think of the New Testament. And right now, I mean, we just started Great Lent, but like the weaker brother, right? To the one who's weak in the faith, they eat only vegetables, and the one who's stronger in the faith can eat meat because they're just like, it doesn't matter. All is God's. Which is an interesting thing because my kids, because I don't know, I have all these complicated thoughts about Orthodox fasting. Because like it's very, because I was just dealing with that because my wife isn't Orthodox. I have complicated nutritional ideas about food and stuff. I like a lot of RFK, Make America Healthy Again. I'm on board with all of that, inverting the triangle. Because like now vegan at my church, just to be frank, for most of the people that are doing this fast, they're just going to have shit nutrition for like all of Lent. They're going to be eating garbage for the most part. And I'm just like, I don't think that's the point. But then I even have that perspective. They're like, okay, Protestant, like this is tradition. And I'm like, yeah, it's tradition, but like what people were eating pre-industrial agriculture for the fast is so different to what we're doing now. And we want to act like that's not different. Yeah. And so like even now, and my kids, they're like, we all want to fast. And I'm like, do you want to fast, or do you just want a license to eat processed carbs and nothing else for the entirety of Lent? Because I actually like the Catholic idea. I'm like, what I think you should fast from is maybe we should all do like a screen fast and refined sugar fast. But like, oh, we don't want to do that. That's not what the fast is, Dad.
Yeah. I'm just like, has the arena changed? So in order to authentically do the fast today means that you're going to have to deal with different dynamics. So the fast has to maybe like there's attributes of the cup that have to change in order to still have the essence of the cup.
Well, and but this is where Orthodoxy is tough. Like the strength is in that they don't change.
Yeah.
And it's that quote that I was saying from PBK's live stream, and the John Henry Newman quote, which I want to get it exactly right because it's very good, that Mark D. Parker just said. What is it? To live is to change, and to be perfect is to have changed often. That's repentance, by the way, MJ. MJ, we never talk about repentance in the TLC. But that's what that is. Or George MacDonald says, we are God's becoming. That's what he says. Father John Baer, in his talk with Sam Tiedemann that he always talked about, this is one of the things that's one of the reasons Christianity is confusing to people and suffering and everything else is he's just like, it's intrinsic to be human to change. That's what it means to be human.
Yeah.
Like it's part of the core of what we are. So then like, where's the noble lie and the above and below and weaker brother and all that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. In our temptation, and this gets into another of our 4 topics from the group chat, the idea of Samson versus David, which Matthew Pajot, I'm not saying Matthew, he's got my name. It's just
that's hard. Yeah, I try to do it, although it's hard.
Yeah, I feel like I have the card where I can use the name. Maybe other people feel like they got to say it in French.
Mhm.
But he's got this idea of Samson and David being antitypes of each other, because Samson doesn't get what you're talking about. He keeps thinking that other people are the butt of the joke, in a sense. Like, other people don't get it, what he gets. And he doesn't understand that if you live that way, it will end in tragedy. You end up killing others, and then you end up killing yourself, if that makes sense. As you suppress others, you end up setting yourself up for that same fall that you set up for others. But and another way to say that is that if you want to take out your enemies, you have to first kill yourself. And David, by contrast, understands this throughout his life from the beginning. So he's constantly playing with this. I do not want to kill my enemy. I actually want to make myself the butt of the joke. Maybe I want to pretend to be a lunatic for a while. Maybe I want to work with the Philistines against Israel for a while. I do not want to kill the king, because if I kill the king, I'm killing myself. I'm setting up a revolutionary paradigm that's going to lead in my downfall. So I don't want to kill myself, so I'm not going to kill the king. Do you know what I'm saying? And there's a tragedy cycle in that too. But he's saying I'm the butt of the joke. Samson's saying you're the butt of the joke. I'm great and you're not. And that he only at the end of his life does he realize that he has to lower himself in order to have a good outcome. You know, he realizes finally at the end of all things of his arc, his story of life, is that he is the ultimate joke, that he's blinded and he's being laughed at by Philistines. So to embrace that is to knock down the pillars and take everyone with him. But David in life understands this. So he can continually, he can have many deaths throughout his life. So he can keep changing, you know, like the sun is another, I'm going to lay the plane and give this to you. You can do anything you want with it. But the sun, in its initial phase in life, only has one life. And then the sunset, this is Matthew Pajot playing with us. The sunset catches the sun by surprise and then it dies. But the moon is playing in this liminal space where it has many deaths throughout. It has 30 deaths before it dies. So it's constantly changing. And in playing with that, like, you can't quite catch me, and I'm reflecting other things, and I'm playing in this zone of change and of reflection. I can outlast the tragedy and play with that comic sphere where I'm allowing myself to be the butt of the joke, which is what David does throughout his life, which is why he's beloved by God in a way, and why he's the anti-Samson.
Yeah, that's all very, like, I feel like that topic, the Samson David topic, and even because I don't know if that came up in the group chat, but even like the sun and the moon, symbolically and religiously and archetypally, like, is man, you could, like, there could be a really great book or series or something written about that, because there's a lot there. It's very order, chaos, Taoistically. There's like Apollyon, Dionysian stuff going on in there. Because like the strong man, the Apollo, is the sun perhaps has baked into itself. Samson has a kind of weakness into it. But then the playful, shape-shifting, fickle moon has a kind of, you can't ever catch me. You can't pin me down, because I'm playing in and out of all the kinds of static, binary, either or, good and bad things. It's almost beyond good and evil, in a sense.
And then the long arc is that this is how the heavens declare the glory of God, in one sense. The long arc is that the sun ultimately is the summation of all things, and you get a season, you get a resurrection of the sun. It's almost as if the sun understands a truth that it learns how to not just be caught in the tragic cycle that the moon has insight into over 30 days, so that you can actually, as things descend into winter, they can resurrect in spring, and then you get a completion of the full picture as the sun mimics in some way in that fuller cycle what the moon imparts to us in that 30-day window.
Yeah. Well, it's
who
almost
is Christ, obviously, because Christ is the greater David and the greater Samson, playing with both of those archetypes together to get the full picture. Because David helps us understand why Samson isn't going to get you there fully. But then the Davidic cycle has its own tragedy too. It still ends in the dissolution of his family. It's still in a very lunar way, that sort of change in the impish kind of trickstery way in which he's lived his life. It ends in tragedy too. So ultimately, you still need a figure. You still need a Lion of Judah who can play like a dog, and play like a trickster, like a fox, who is greater than both and yet embodies both. So,
well, I think Jesus, for sure, Jesus is constantly doing those, and I agree. I just before we started talking, I actually saw a little clip that Ethan had put out from an upcoming conversation he must be doing with Rigel about spiral dynamics.
Oh, wow.
And I've always loved spiral dynamics because it's the further up and the further in, but yet integrates the lower.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what the whole thing is. And I very much do agree with you that the sun is, the cosmos reflects all this. It's like, what level are you playing at? Because like there's the earthly level, there's the solar level, there's the galaxy level, or the universe, the galaxy level. So like there's all these different levels, and like at each level, it's actually Notes from the Tilt-A-Whirl. That book that I like so much is because it's wheels within wheels. It's rings within rings. It's the thing behind the thing. And so like at what level are you playing at this at? Because, okay, quick pause. We're going to do a hug here. Okay, we're back. We had to hug it out.
Beautiful.
But it's as right now as my easterly facing window and the sun rises. See, we're just it's well, and it incorporates all of this. This is why scientism, like I saw some video, Lex Friedman was talking to this MIT scientist who now has become a Christian or something, and he was talking about scientism in actually pretty simple ways, like they're very Rupert Sheldrake ways. Because this is all the way back to like, to bring all of this in, like at what level are you thinking about this? Spiral dynamics. And then I've always thought this about Rupert Sheldrake. I remember watching one of his videos before I even moved to Minneapolis, like over 10 years ago, when I first probably discovered him on YouTube, where he was talking about morphic resonance and things. And the video I remember had I think it had under 100 views. And I remember thinking like, this is one of the most profound things I've ever seen. Like, what is going on? Why does no one else think this is important? Mm-hmm. But I think somewhat, and again, like I'm going to sound like a proud asshole because I don't think people were ready for the kinds of stuff that Rupert Sheldrake is talking about. Rupert Sheldrake has been talking about all this kind of stuff for 20 years. And now people are, Jonathan Peugeot, like when he first started talking, people were like, I couldn't understand what he's talking about. Yeah, because you don't have the capacity to understand what he's talking about yet. And that gets back to like the weaker brother and stuff. Like, how do you, to the holy, all things are holy, which I think is true. But how then does the holy brother, who's capable of seeing things at these different levels, who maybe is like Christ, how does he become all things to all men, that he can meet them where they're at in a way that they can receive him without just being like falling into like kind of crass tribalism?
Yeah. It may be like what we said about True Detective and Interstellar is that if you have a posture where you're allowing yourself, you're embracing maybe the idea that you're the butt of the joke, like that you have insight into something and you're not ready for it, rather than other people aren't ready for it. That idea is fixed. It's the same idea in a way, but because your positionality changed in relationship to it, where you're saying, well, this actually kind of floored me, and I don't know what I'm going to do with it for like a year. I don't know. You know what I mean? Or like,
as the content viewer, as the recipient of watching True Detective, like you take it with a kind of humility where you're just like, I'm not gonna too quickly judge this thing. Is this what you're talking about?
I guess I was thinking more of the David Sampson thing,
Okay.
as like True Detective. It isn't like, I was just thinking in the horizontal, or like Interstellar, where it's like, well, culture's changed, so the work has actually changed. It actually has different meaning now. Like it really does. It's the exact same piece, different meaning today. Like both things can be true, but there's a verticality. There's a are you going to see it from the valley or from the mountaintop? There's that additional dimension of like, am I going to ascertain an idea that's emerging, and am I going to say that other people don't get it, or am I going to say I get it the least? Do you know what I mean? I wonder about that. And the thing
okay, how is that different than, like, explain that to me in terms of humility versus false humility? Because there's a way you could say that would be a lie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like here, so this is the idea that I just had. So like this is the spiral, right?
Uh-huh.
And as you're going up and down it and it's integrating the lower levels, what I just kind of realized as you were talking, you could think of this as also the cosmos, right? So like you're standing on Earth. Oh no, you're the astronaut. Like it's always been fake. You know, the astronaut meme up here. No, I see the pale blue dot. And then you go up to like the bigger solar level, the sun level. And then you zoom out from that and you see that within the Milky Way. And then you just keep zooming out, and like, which is true? Well, what you see in here depends a lot upon where you're standing and the kind of person you are. So at each of these levels, they're all true. Like, is the Earth flat or round? Well, it's not an either or, it's yes. And so, but at each of these levels, wherever you're standing, this is like an information level. The meaning level is all of it. And that's kind of when, as you were talking, I'm like, that's what iconic knowing is not limiting yourself to the singular information level, which is the binary. Is this true or false?
I like your solar system analogy, because one of the things it's doing, one of the many things it's doing, is it's reminding us of how the more you go up that spiral, the smaller you are, in a way, in relationship to where you are in the spiral, which that implies some humility just on a physical plane. You know? So the higher up you go, the bigger the idea, the smaller you are in relationship to it. And like by analogy, maybe that means the more humility we have in the face of these big ideas, which is probably where we're going in these kind of internet communities, where everyone is trying to build a shared language across, and that involves meme language, in-group language, all those kind of weird, soft skill kind of things across all the, 50 states in America. And then you've got all these crazy Canadians who listen to us too. And then the Europeans, and somehow we're supposed to have a shared meaning dialogue. And then across the generations, which we've already admitted is really hard to do.
Doc, here we go. Interstellar. Let's bring what can bridge these infinite gaps? How do we trust which planet to go to?
Yeah.
What is the thing that can bridge all those differences? Anne Hathaway. I think it's love.
Nailed it.
But that's because it's such a sciencey,
Yeah.
like transhumanist, like we'll go to space, interplanetary thing. But then like you could say the beating heart of that whole show, even between what's his name, Matthew McConaughey's character and his daughter,
Yeah.
or then Anne Hathaway, and like which planet do we go to? We have two planets. We can go to the Damon planet or we can go to the other planet. And we pick the rational planet that has the data, right?
Yep.
That's the planet we go to. He's a murdering psychopath. Spoiler alert. But the other planet, and the whole point is to like is the sacrifice that gets her to that planet, like the last hope.
Yeah. Wasn't Matt Damon's character his name was like Man or something? It was like Adam.
The Unman.
Yeah. And that's that tragic irony there. Yeah. And then the final destination of sorts at the other end of that event horizon is just you with your daughter.
Yeah. Okay. I just have to pause this because I mean, whatever. We're 51 minutes in. I don't know how much time you have, how long we'll do. I've been in and out with my kids. We're friends. I obviously enjoy talking. This conversation has been like conceptually, and the things that we're covering for those with eyes to see has been absolute fire. Like it's very good. And then I think this is like another. I don't know what's going on in YouTube, social media, TLC, the autodidact world or whatever. Show me a conversation between academics that even fucking touches this. They don't. Like they're just I don't, and I'm not saying that as like a I don't know how to communicate it with like what I think what I'm trying to communicate and what frustrates me about it, it's related to the comment in the end of that PVK live stream too, where it was just like, and it's tying back to the earlier like Gen X boomers fear of AI and their worlds collapsing, but it's just like your world isn't collapsing. What do you think the world is? Like, and even this, like academics, even my raging at them and my raging against the machine, it's more that like, for those with eyes to see and like, trust me, this is where I do, again, Matt Damon, I feel like the Goodwill Hunting where like at the end with the math problem, he's like, I don't know how to do this problem. And he's like, I'm sorry I can't explain this thing to you, but it's right. Take it home. Look at it. I'm telling you right now, like what we're doing is right. And like academics and old institution people, like it's passing away. And I have a kind of, it's probably back to even like the True Detective, growing up poor, uneducated. I don't have the credentialing. And I'm like, and there's probably some ego in it where like, this is the stuff people should be paying attention to. You're out there sharing to me all these like PhDs and the conversations they're having. They suck. Those conversations suck.
Well, we're probably getting back to the, Aristotle just hanging out with his students on the mountainside, eating olives and talking about.
Explain the olives thing to me. I don't get it.
Yeah.
This is a group chat thing. And they're always talking about olives, and I'm like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. And there's like, they're falling off the plate. What are we talking about?
This is very relevant to what you're getting at. Is there's a modality in which, and it's beautiful. It's really helped. It built Western civilization, so to speak, of being academic to get at an idea. And there's a way in which that bleaches out a lot of emotion and in-group language, and just
intrinsically connected to modernity and scientism.
Yeah. And that's built our iPhones. It's done a lot of technological achievement, and we've applied that to the humanities with disastrous results. but there's a way in which you can do that. And what TLC I think does is, and will develop in-group language like olives, is we can get at things faster because we're actually not going to bleach it and flatten it out so that it can be observed under the microscope by anyone in repeatable, like science experiment kind of prosality.
Yeah,
we're dancing, say stuff that you don't quite get.
we're dancing up and down the scales, whereas
Yeah.
other people are just like bing, 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 bing,
Yeah.
one note in it.
Yeah. So we can play and harmonize with each other a lot faster because we're not trying to do something that needs to be repeatable in the lab.
Yes.
You know? Which is
why
what
Claire like
teaching
doesn't get
originally
it.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So olives is just a Noah Foxman thing of just saying, there are things that I like on my plate, and there's things that I don't like on my plate, and there's a tyranny of attention of people, of things, and there's an attention economy that's trying to tyrannize me, and I only have so much time, so I don't have to explain why I don't like olives. I can just kick them off my plate. And
that's a
he's
skill
used
I
that
need
in
to learn.
application of, you don't have to pay attention to every person having every conversation. Even in your internet community, even in something like TLC, you can just say that's an olive. That's not for me, and I don't have to explain it any more than I have to explain what type of ice cream I like, or whether or not I like a Greek salad or a Cobb salad. I could just move on. But you could say that with an emoji. You don't even have to use the word olive, and it has a lot of potent meaning. Whereas an academic,
when someone puts an olive emoji, they're just like, I don't give a shit. Is that what that means?
Yeah, or it's like maybe,
or I don't have time right now.
I've explained it before. I don't have to explain it again. You get it. It's
a shorthand. Yeah, it's polysemous. And olive, there's a lot going on in the olive. Because I feel like there's also 2 times in here. This just happened once. You ever have the experience where you hear a sermon from a pastor and you're like, they're talking exactly to me. Like they're preaching to me. They're saying like, this, Luke, is something you need to repent of. I feel like you've done that twice so far.
Oh, no.
You just did it once. I'm not saying it's even intentional. Because like with the pastor, it's obviously not intentional either. Probably. Yeah. He's just like preaching and you're just like, ugh.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it happened with me with your live streams. It was like 3 weekends ago, maybe. I think we had this group chat discovery, maybe a self-discovery in a way. Maybe I'm just projecting, but we all kind of realized that you have a ministry, and you've said that from the start. I don't know why the light bulb had to click on 3 weeks ago. That you have a ministry with your live stream content, and you're playing up and down the spiral. So it's not merely, I'm not just saying it's one modality only, but if you're engaging with the sort of people that I would think of as an olive, or, like, I'm just going to disregard.
Let's not name names.
Yeah, no, like that's me. This is me actually kind of down, like saying that the olive thing doesn't actually always work, because if you have a ministry, if you care about persons, then you can't afford to treat certain people as olives.
I'm going to eat those damn olives.
Exactly. And I'm always going to admire that, even if I'm over here gagging.
Olives are so gross. It's just like I'm smearing the tapenade thick.
Yeah. No, so and once I realized that, I was like, well, you go talk to whoever you want for as long as you want, obviously.
But I do think there are places
again.
Like you guys have said, there are places for this. Because like what we're doing this morning and the fun that I'm having here, I do not always have when I'm gagging down olives. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a different, and that doesn't make it wrong or right. I'm just realizing I have to, someone like me has to give you, it's kind of, there's David and Samson again. Do I need to give you permission, Luke Thompson, to have different modalities? No, that's absurd. I need to realize that I was the one that misunderstood. You were already operating in that space, and I am lower than. And I didn't see from my lower position on the mountain, I didn't see the other dimensions of what was happening higher up.
Yeah, the TLC would work so much better if people always just realize when they don't understand me, I'm just higher up the mountain. Yeah. I'm in the clouds, and you guys just don't get it. Eventually, you'll get it. That's kind of a joke, but it's also not a joke because I often feel that way because I'm an asshole. But there's like a branding thing that I want to make somewhat. I've talked about doing this for a while. I have it clipped already in my channel, but I have it was some conversation with Sam because everybody likes to, because this is like a little competitive thing I have with Sam. I can't remember where it happened last time in one of my live streams. I think it was Busatil who came in and he like said hello to everyone. He said hi to me and then he said to Sam, but it was prefaced with like in Orthodoxy when we do our litanies and, you know, the most Reverend Daniel, Archbishop of Chicago in the Midwest, like he just said hi to me. And then he gave our most Reverend Sam, Archbishop of, you know, you're so smart, you're so everything. And I was like, Busatil, can you, next time you talk to me, can you do all the flowery adjective introductions where like I'm so smart and you admire me and it's really great. But also like that's kind of so I say that jokingly anyhow, but the clip I want to make is Sam said in some video a long time ago, I mean, Sam and I are buds, but he said, you know, Luke, to give you credit somewhat, he's like, there's a lot of things where I disagree with you. And then like I give it enough time and I realize like you were right. I just didn't see it yet. This is like there's some little clip where Sam said that and I want to put it into my branding. But also like it's a part of what I'm doing is like I have that ego part of me where I want to be acknowledged. Like my friend Sarah said, you can either get credit or you can influence. Like that's the choice. And very often I want credit. But I've realized in my own David-like living, death, dying, weird, playful, in and out of things, it's not true, actually. I want to influence people because influence is change. And that's not in an ideological way where I want to like influence you to become me. I don't know. I want to play. It's like Jesus. It's the craziest thing in the world. Like he died alone and abandoned. Nobody even knew what he was talking about or believed him, but he sowed seeds of becoming the most influential person who's ever lived. Like that, and that's the goal. Academia doesn't do that. Academia is like all the credentialing, all the letters after your name.
Is this your way, Luke Thompson, of letting us know that you will not be entering a PhD program next fall?
I don't know. I toy with the idea every day because I don't know. This is an ongoing question that I have, and like stuff that I talk about with CBACs is like, what is the level of being in the world but not of the world? One of the Bible verses that I ruminate on all the time that I don't know how to make sense of is like, make friends by unjust means, make friends by mammon. You know, I don't know what that means. Like Jesus always said the most trippy, counterintuitive, in a way, kind of like jokery, playful, like a holy joker of like, what are you talking about, dude? So I don't know. I doubt that it will probably ever happen, but I don't know. Like you're talking about a ministry. I don't know. Like me and my wife have all these conversations. What is this? I don't know what this is. TLC. I don't know what this is going to become. I don't. Can you like make, again, like it's a Daniel OG Rose. Like, do you only play guitar to make money? Can we make money with TLC? Can I have a living with TLC? This is all I want to do is talk to people. But like sometimes there are things worth doing where you don't make money. Plug your ears, Rod. You know, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's certainly the case that the internet is it's built to be a transactional space. It's built to flatten us to think in terms of ones and zeros and in terms of input output. And it's one of the shining features of an internet community like this that we're doing noble things by unjust means. Is that what you think? We're using an instrument of the devil to do very humane work.
Trampling down the algo by the algo, man.
Yeah. And we're trying to the extent that people do make money, Um, yeah. I'm thinking about how McMo last night had a DJ. I'm actually slightly hungover because we were. He did one of the best DJ experiences I've ever heard of. Just some cool like hip hop that he found recently, and I
I
was just
popped in for like
money at
5
him.
minutes.
Sorry,
I said I popped in for like 5 minutes, but I didn't. That
did
was
you?
it.
Yeah. And part of the I mean, he's enormously talented. He has a great ear for what is cooking right now, and he finds it and he brings it down. But it's also it doesn't feel transactional to tip a guy who you consider a friend that you have in your phone, that you've shook hands with, that you go on adventures with in real life. And so because of that, you're willing to go on adventures online, I guess, in a way with them. And there's a high trust kind of scenario. And if people make money in that space, I feel like that's a very humane way of navigating what we're up to, I guess. I
Right.
want the people that we trust making money with each other and off each other in a way. I don't know.
Is this Greenwich Village? Or is
Yeah,
this what the Valley in California? Because
yeah, could be.
I don't like a burgeoning new weird community, because there are like I don't so like do you know Gabriel Stuckey? Supernaut is his thing. He has all those weird,
That name's
not
familiar.
weird, awesome. They're awesome. Pictures of I'm trying to find some of them. Anyhow, he's very creative. He has all these like fractal images that are like super detailed and colorful. He had a conversation with PVK. He's on X. You'd maybe know if you've seen him, but he's
Probably.
he's like this trans medium artist where he can do all this kind of crazy stuff. He works with metal, he works with wood, he colors. He built like this giant hydraulic lift that could like lift up RVs and like flip them and stuff. Like he can do all sorts of stuff. He's crazy talented and very artistic. But he a while ago in the TLC, and I think this is okay for me to share a little bit, but because he put out a like a post somewhere where he was basically like, if anybody wants to buy any of my art or my pictures or whatever, here's like a page that he had set up and people can look at his stuff. And I essentially commissioned from him. I reached out and I said like, yeah, I'd love for you to do me something. And what he's currently working on with me right now is an image of, something I talk about all the time is Christ the Eternal Tao, or like the Taurus, which to me is kind of it's a personal image of everything. That's not like the Peugeot mountain. Like Christ the Eternal Tao to me is the image of everything. And so he's making for me out of wood, like a 3D carving that he's going to paint and do all this stuff. And so here are some like preliminary images. So like this is
cool.
One of the things, and then he's starting to carve it. And so it'll have like an Ouroboros in it.
Oh goodness.
And it's going to be dope as hell. And then like Womboy, after my conversation with her, she's an artist who does all these like colorings and images that usually have words in them and stuff. And she sent me a link to her page. And I was like, that's awesome. To which, but like, and then, so I said, that looks really cool. Cause in my house, we're trying to do this art wall. And so, and me and my wife have very different artistic sensibilities. I'm like a crazy, very out there, weird person. Like I like it. This thing to her is probably like, that's kind of strange, but she loves me and it'll be fine. And it will go with the other things she has. And then I was saying that to one boy and I was like, yeah, I love your art. I think it's cool. And she's like, oh, I'll make one for you and your family. She's like, this is why I don't make money. Cause she's just, but like, it's all back to the point of like, are we an emergent, creative, like weird, some sort of spiritual thing is going on community? And like, we're still probably at the beginning phases, if it's true.
Yeah. That was that brought up on Friday with PVK's stream about making money, or was that one of your streams last week? Making money versus not.
Yeah, I think it's come up a few times. Yeah, probably the 2 ago Friday live streams where like something weird happened. It was on there. Somebody was joking to me. Somebody brought up to me, maybe it was David in that same one with Sam and I, where he was saying, like, could we make Luke a political pundit or something? And I was essentially like, no, you couldn't pay me enough money.
Yeah.
Like, there's not enough money in the world to make me do that. Cause like I do think somewhat I am that kind of person. Like, I'm not buyable. Like, I would way rather die. Like like I've fantasized my whole life about being a martyr. You think you're going to buy me with money? I'm like, no, I will fight that until you kill me. And then that will give me what I want.
I mean, and yeah, and this is something Big Mo brought up in the group chat. Clearly, the main character in America lives in or around Minneapolis because that's where all the story points are spawning. that's where all the there's a lot of space that feels like NPC space, and Minneapolis is not that. Minneapolis feels very high resolution. It's not the level of detail is the highest in your area. So if you aren't the main character,
maybe
Luke
it's CW.
Someone you probably you're 2 steps removed from is, because Minneapolis is the place where the story is advancing.
That is kind of an interesting thing to think about. Like, I mean, I know enough to know like the main character energy thing, but yeah, if you really zoom out on like a world, global, American stage, and you think like this is a video game, like Minneapolis, for like how small we are in Midwest and whatever, like it's a hotbed of something.
Yeah, I don't know why Minneapolis is. We grew up thinking that New York, that LA was where the story was being told, where that's the microcosm, you know. I think Minneapolis for some reason is the microcosm of the 2020s. That city specifically, which is completely wild. And that's part of the comedy, I guess, in a way, is like if you're not anticipating that, well, then the joke was on you that you didn't see it coming, and now you're going to have to listen to why that's the case. And I don't think anybody really knows why it's happening in Minneapolis, where it wouldn't happen in St. Louis or something, or Chicago even. Chicago is less of a storyteller than Minneapolis is. No one could have scripted that.
Well, if you think about it a little bit, there are Minneapolis is kind of it's kind of unique in that we're somewhat isolated as a big city, but we're not like New York. The way that it's set up and within its history, it has a way of dealing with pluralism because of the boroughs, you know, so they have kind of a united identity, but also really distinct multiplicities, sub-identities within that greater identity. LA is kind of like Rogan always says, like, it's just kind of a hellhole where it's not, I don't know what the LA, I'm sure there are positive things there, but like the identity has always kind of been built around very early pro-felicity and image and Hollywood. And Minneapolis is like a strange, very, you know, early Scandinavian culturally, but then there's also these different, I know enough about the city where the different people groups lived when it was originally settled. Like South Minneapolis was there's a lot of Scandinavian everywhere, pretty German. Like North Minneapolis, which was always kind of considered the most violent ghetto-y, was very like Black, Jewish. Northeast was very like Eastern European, Slavic, Russian. and then there's kind of Swedes, Scandinavians all over. But now, and we're always very Scandinavian progressive in a sense, in a way, but like very traditionally conservative Lutheran. And so, but then we're progressive and we're bringing in all these people like Hmong and Somali and different things, but we don't have the boroughs and the history to deal with all that. So we're kind of we're kind of a hotbed of American multiculturalism, pluralism of like, but like actually having to live with each other without the isolated places to keep us separate, kind of.
That's super good. Yeah. So you don't have that ghettoization in a way that happened in the other cities. Isn't that interesting? Wow. See, that's an insight nobody has brought to the fore in all the conversations people have had about Minneapolis.
Well, I mean, I just thought of it. I don't know that it's unique in that there may be no other places like that. But as we were talking about it, I was just popped into mind, like we're, it's like the big question almost of like, which if you really zoom out, it's like the historically post World War II consensus, even like Dugan ideas of like fourth political theories, because it's like monarchy to nation state, which bred communism, fascism, liberalism, and America's the hotbed of liberalism and pluralism and the melting pot. But like, where is that most happening in America? Like, where's the center of actual pluralism in America that isn't ghettoized or just completely isolated because it's like their own ethnic kind of almost pre-American identities just within America? Like, where's it actually happening?
Yeah. And then Minnesota Nice maybe is going to engage that a lot more authentically, than just kind of maintaining and respecting boundaries. There's going to have to be this overlayer.
But there's a weird Minnesota Nice in that. Like, that's the negative side that people always say about Minnesota Nice is there's a veiled animosity because it's a superficial avatar profiling of like, we're nice. That's the flip side of Minnesota Nice is like, a Minnesotan will give you directions everywhere except their home. Like, they're very nice, but like it's really hard to actually break into the community and to get people like actually inside. That, I mean, it's almost the epicenter of the Karen, of like the even like abolish the police stuff. There's all these like super wealthy, rich white Edina cake eating people who live in gated communities who are like preaching abolish the police and putting it all over their cars and stuff. And they don't live anywhere near the ramifications of that. I don't know. Minnesota's a crazy place, dude.
You're making me grateful that it's happening in Minnesota, which makes me feel bad because you're living it and I'm like literally probably 1,000 miles away from that. But I say grateful in a positive way of like, you're talking about the right ingredients for America to really navigate itself and to have that insight moment that you are the man, kind of Davidic self, the recognition that leads to repentance, maybe, I don't know. And I don't even mean that in the bare political sense that people might expect that, though it's part of that. I feel like it makes sense the way you're describing it. I wouldn't want it to happen in any other area because that's probably where that's where the pressure points need to be happening, is in a culture like Minneapolis that can help us to understand the country as a whole and the cultures, the superstructure culture that we have in America probably needs to be sorted out in a city like yours, which is really interesting.
Well, I mean, I suppose that's true. Like the broader, we've been under the culture war for how long? Since the 80s? Maybe before that, where it's just like, it's been an either or, right? It's just been like tribalistic fighting. And like, where can we learn actually in America to play the scales?
Yeah. Which is OG Rose's idea of the Gödel point, right? In a way, if I understand, maybe that's just the Gödel of our own understanding.
Well, maybe that's it. Is like there are all these different cities that have maybe again lower levels of unity and community that they're coming around. That's their own internally coherent system, Gödel point, which is what makes that city work. Because if these things are real, they're not just ideas. Like this Gödel point thing isn't just an idea. It's going to manifest in a city.
Yeah.
And Minneapolis is the kind of city where it maybe had that, but it's evolved out of that. And then we have a new unity has to emanate and emerge and need to be navigated that lives. So like Minneapolis is like the hotbed of the culture war.
Nailing it. Yep.
Which doesn't seem fun for me.
No. Yeah. It's easy for me to nod my head at that. I'm glad you said it so I didn't have to.
I mean, I don't think I've told my wife this because we've had these discussions. I'm like, what if this pattern just continues? You know, it's just like George Floyd, ICE, you know, bananas and rice. Like, what if we just keep, you know, tax fraud? What if we just keep having things? Like, I don't feel like that pattern's gonna stop. Like, it feels like a pattern.
Yeah. It has to like progress up the spiral or down the spiral to escape that circular Ouroboros kind of loop, right? That two-dimensional, tragic
one way
cycle,
or the other,
which is destructive if it's just stuck in that second plane.
But that's always the pattern, right? It's either like rebellion, war, chaos, the fall. You either have a fall or you have a redemption. I mean, it's one way or another, which again is probably mediated by a Davidic figure that plays in and out of these boundaries and allows to be a living sacrifice to level up.
Wow. Yeah. Luke Thompson, 2026. There's the campaign stump speech right there.
I mean, oh my gosh, dude, I don't think I could ever like making that would be the most living sacrifice thing in the world would be for me to be a politician.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way I could even possibly be elected. I would just be like, I'm an anarchist who, and then I would start talking and everyone here's like people in the TLC, at least love me and kind of know what I'm talking about. Can you imagine this conversation? Like if you put this conversation out to the mass population, like let's say magically this video that we're doing, Matt, goes viral and we get, we'll close it up. I want to give you the last word. And let's say this video gets 1 million views. Most people would just be like, again, they would be like, this is word salad nonsense.
Yeah. You know, I guess that's part of the tragedy of politics is that you have to flatten things and you have to bleach out the in-group content so that it could be repeatable in a lab, so to speak. So I can say something and you're not going to get anything other than this one baseline layer of meaning because I'm trying to limit the variables. And when you do that, you're creating, you're not allowing the tool set to be anything other than the most bluntest of instruments.
Right.
And that's what makes good politicians are people who can make blunt instruments effectively for rhetoric, for
and not nuance.
Yeah. And it makes sense in a way. It's a great survival mechanism. Like, how are you going to deal with complicated topics and constantly have to navigate all the different ways people are going to interpret all the ways that they're currently interpreting it, and then how they're going to interpret your engagement with it. You're going to have to dumb it down in order to keep your job, which means you're going to do a bad job at your job, and you weren't the person for the job, because the job needs the complexity. The solution needs to be at least as complex as the problem is in order to integrate those dynamics.
All right, buddy. Yeah, I know you got to go. That was a good last word. Send me how I should title this, and if I should put anything in the description.
Oh gosh.
Do you have a brilliant title that just pops to mind? How do we get 1 million views? Do we want 1 million views?
Probably not by saying we're catching Luke Thompson up on the group chat. Although I think that was the meme approach I was taking to this. So submitting ideas for your evaluation. That's probably too personal in a way. It's too in group.
Am I the main player character in Minneapolis as a microcosm of the culture war and pluralism?
That'll get PVK to click the link.
Yeah. Yeah. People will, Matt, you're so beloved. People will click the link. Kale already told you he loves you. Everyone else is just like, oh, I love Matt C. Somebody just referenced your Roots and Fruits video again the other day.
You're inspiring me. I'm gonna get back to actually making stuff. There is a selfishness in exploring things with friends and then not allowing them to have an external witness. You know what I mean? Like if you just keep it in the in group, there is like a protection kind of thing that you're playing with that actually doesn't. You need to actually sow the seed. It has to die in the earth. You actually have to sometimes make content.
Veil and unveil, man. It can't all be veil.
Yeah, and then you can actually have things can multiply, and you can more life can grow. All that to say, I should probably make more videos to be playing with you.
Do it.
Because
be our home math, buddy.
You remind me of that.
Be our home math.
Yeah.
Our non-ASPE home math.
All right. We'll do that.
Let's I'm gonna end recording and we can go to work in our own respective ways.
Beautiful.
All right. End recording.